Chapter 2. Prologue. Abandoned in the desire to know everything, he took the steps of life in a terrible and harmful beginning. The death of his youngest child at the beginning of creation forced him to replace the child with a third that pleased him, but his happiness only lasted a moment. He lived in perpetual pain, and the mixture of laughter and tears created a life that never ended. His life was turned upside down. Despite living hundreds of years, he believed that everything would end with his life, and that the new generation would enjoy happiness in the future. He forgot he was the convict that started it all. However, he did not know that his fault is in his blood, and that humanity is hindered, and that he could do nothing but accept his loss and the penalty of death. We are all affected by his mistake, by his desire to be like the all-powerful, and by taking the road he took, we all became cursed. Why pay for a few mistakes that I was unaware of? I've soaked up the task of condemnation even before I existed. I would pay for my father's evil. I would like to pay money for the harm caused by my ancestors. But I see no one who takes ransom. By means of talking and praying, someone told me that my money was not enough, and I asked him to take my life for the freedom of my brothers. He told me that it would also not be enough. I don't know what to do to make them free. I don't know what to give. This darkness exhausts me, and exhaustion strikes my children and descendants, and nothing in the world can erase this evil. I live with the awareness of waiting for death, who is ready to welcome me. A consciousness requires me to search for the key to immortality, and by means of searching, I pour my soul even further into the abyss. By seeking immortality, my life approaches death. Talking about life or death, and death or life, it's just chasing after the wind. The time of life, the time of death. When I see death, I cry, but my strength cannot face it. While in its presence, my body betrays me and sends me back into dust. For every living human being, it invents a story that the conscience ignores from the beginning. The conscience refuses to accept death. Then he seeks help in the visible and invisible world. Sometimes death condemns another person, and the story ends with a somber note. The departure of the dearest human who has endured the weight of his pain. Everyone understands its cunning, but ends up falling into its trap. Sometimes it claims thousands of lives, and sometimes it endangers the whole planet. Sometimes it mourns on the continents, and the living people anticipate the end of time. Its cunning manifests itself by the penetration of small beings within our system. Sometimes its cunning distances others when it dominates. It is the ruler of time. Its throne will have no end, because when we know that it died of its death, it lives from its death to destroy the living of their death. Sometimes it appears with new tools to break our vigilance. When it disappears, we play, we celebrate, thinking that its arrival is very distant, and sometimes forgetting who it is. Laughter and pleasure come to cover its recent arrival. The strength to penetrate, the desire to know the other, the desire to explore the universe, gives it access to discover us. Our discovery opens the way for it to attack us and lose the joy of life. We always forget when it rests any form of noise is a death sentence, and we learn that laughter and joy are temporary. It alone has the final sentence. Who will be the victor? Is our destiny subject to the supernatural? Is our story part of time? If the first beings failed and bore the genetic mark of their end, if the first creatures left the imperfection to reign supreme, and until today it is in our skin, by knowing the common enemy, we have taken steps towards a change. But even with the number of steps taken, the enemy is always tenacious. If the very essence of humans is divine, in this case our burden of disease and infirmity, past and present pain will be removed by the divine character.